Hello, and welcome to a new series on this channel called Pitch It, which is where I pitch to you some random ideas I had while scribbling in my notebook and realized I'll probably never get the opportunity to make them, which is fine, because that is most ideas in Hollywood. I want to make clear that right from the get-go that this series is not me saying this is how it should be, or this is what should have happened, or Hollywood, if you think you're good enough, you'll call me. That's not what I'm saying at all. This is a dramatic writing student at the Savannah College of Art and Design's take on a lot of ideas that could happen. It's meant to be like a fun thing where I just describe my ideas and maybe you'll like them, maybe you'll hate them. Either way, I'd love to hear your take in the comment section down below. I'm not saying that as a YouTuber like, oh yeah, just give me some more likes and comments. And yeah. I would love to hear what your ideas are. Also, Marvel, hey. If you like any of the ideas that I have in this video, feel free to tell me to take this down and make it on your own. Because that's not what I'm trying to do. Also, that's very big-headed of me. But anyways, on to the first video, which is where I will pitch to you guys 3 Marvel special presentations. Specifically the Marvel special presentations. Marvel special presentations is a very unique opportunity the MCU and Disney Plus to date. Whereas you have these big budget Marvel movies like your Endgames at the time of this video. Oh my goodness, it's Thursday. Tomorrow, Wakanda Forever is coming out. You have Quantumania coming out in February, Secret Invasion, Loki Season 2, so on and so on. With Disney Plus, you have a lot of opportunity and room to grow the universe with some of the smaller stories. Special presentations specifically can be used how it's kind of being used now, and I'll describe that when I get to the specific pitches, but with Werewolf by Night and Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special, you have a lot of opportunity to tell these more unique stories that you wouldn't get to tell on the big screen. So, I shall kick off my first pitch, Werewolf by Night. I loved it. I thought the style was really cool. I thought he looked amazing. The prosthetics in that film, fantastic. The direction was really good. The feel was really good. I think we can lean even further into the horror element because we've shown that people will watch this. Werewolf by Night does some unique things in setting up some of the characters into the universe. You have Elsa Bloodstone, you have Werewolf by Night, and you have Man-Thing. Spoiler alert. Oh gosh. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert. So for my idea in this whole grand scheme of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is to maybe, if this is possible, either annually or biannually, a Halloween special from Marvel. With this biannual or annual Halloween special, you could do a lot. You have, and I'm just going to list off all the characters. Brother Voodoo, Frankenstein's monster. You can make a character from the comics a slasher-related villain or hero. I swear there's a character named Slasher. Hellstrom, Strawman, and the Fear Lords. The Golem. I don't think a special presentation is best for this character just because he's going to be so big that he probably should get his own movie. But you have Ghost Rider. You have a character named the Possessor. You can always do something with Man-Thing. Or you could also do a Werewolf by Night sequel. Or, oh, I forgot that I bought this for like a skit. That didn't work. Yes. Or you can do my idea, which is the Living Mummy. Ooh. What's cool about the Living Mummy is that he's a mummy. If I'm being completely transparent, I've never read any of the Living Mummy comics. As far as I know about him, he's a character in the Amazing Spider-Man cartoon show that was on Disney XD, and I remember the Howling Commandos episode very well. I'm just going to get this out of the way. What you could be leading up to with these Halloween specials, either in special presentation form or in big budget movie, is a Howling Commandos movie. Along the lines of a team led by Blade, reinstated by S.H.I.E.L.D., you have Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, Frankenstein's monster, the Living Mummy. Anyways, on to this one. So my pitch is, and I know that the end of Werewolf by Night went into Technicolor, but I think it would be kind of an interesting theme if you start all of the Halloween specials in my head as a black and white movie, and then work your way into Technicolor by the end of it. So we start our film off in black and white in Egypt. I was thinking 1910s, 1920s, 1930s, doesn't really matter the era. We follow a girl, and her name is Rebecca. Rebecca is going to be our final girl to say. This is an expedition that is brought to you by a certain Ulysses Bloodstone. We can see him in this movie, or I'm completely okay with not seeing him in this movie, and he sends one of his right-hand men, the Silver Dagger. I do not know about this character, but I'm pretty sure he's a monster hunter, and that would be kind of interesting. Yeah. Silver Dagger leads this expedition, including Rebecca, into a hidden pyramid in Egypt. This pyramid had been lost to time and century. You can make some like this. Sand was just too difficult to get through, and it was out in the middle of nowhere, but we finally made it, and we finally found it, and we're looking for something. Rebecca doesn't necessarily know what it is. She thinks it's an artifact. She thinks it's something history related, when in fact, and I'll just tell you this now, they're actually looking for the living mummy. Winding paths and a lot of spooky things and some build up to some things. You can even include the Anka beasts, or Anka beasts, that were in Moon Knight, the kind of like half zombie, half mummy, crazy creatures. Those are some of my favorite, like scary things in the Marvel Universe thus far. But we're building up to the main temple room, where we get closer and closer and closer, and Rebecca's starting to learn, okay, this is serious, this is something bigger than just an artifact. What is this? We get to the room, and it's revealed to her that it's the living mummy. Now, the twist, and I don't want to do again where we just release the monster kills everybody and gets away. This is how I would do it. We're leading up to the twist that the living mummy isn't there. Odd twist, Zach, you might say. Well, in fact, you actually end up finding, not par for the era of pyramids and ancient Egypt, lots of expedition gear, covered in cobwebs and dust and all that stuff, and skeletons. Ooh. What we find out is the living mummy, and it's funny that this is kind of how I'd be building to a twist. The living mummy is living. He is a free-roaming person, and expeditions have tried to go and get him, and have failed. We kind of have this theme of like the mummy will only go after someone with a jaded heart or something like that. So the mummy tears through people. He saves Rebecca, obviously. He saves a few members of the expedition as well. If you wanted to continue with Silver Dagger, you could, but I'm perfectly fine with a very vicious death, very visceral, very bloody death, or you can just have him be stabbed and bleeding, but he's fine, he's fine. Also, didn't need to mention it until now, there's been an expedition that was going against the Bloodstone expedition into the temple the entire time, into the pyramid the entire time. So you have a few action sequences here and there. They're very much more destructive, they're not protecting the temple, and after the Bloodstone expedition gets in, before the other expedition, the Bloodstone expedition realizes that they probably shouldn't let out the monster. However, the other expedition has other plans, they're more destructive. They blow up a wall into the pyramid, letting in all that bright, beautiful golden sun, and the mummy sees it. This is where you can transition into Technicolor in this special presentation. The living mummy starts walking out. He stands at the precipice? He stands at the open wall, looking out over 1910s through 30s through even 40s Egypt, as far as he can see. And then bang! He gets shot in the shoulder. But it doesn't do anything. I'm imagining like a puff of dust. Turns around and looks, and Rebecca is there holding a gun. He just narrows his eyes, and then he leaps. And he's gone. He's been released to the world. Rebecca and the Bloodstone expedition, or what's left of the Bloodstone expedition, in my opinion, needs to be like 2 or 3 people left, maybe including Silver Dagger, is left there, jaw dropped, as they have just released the living mummy to the world. That's my pitch for the living mummy. I think a annual or biannual Halloween special would be a lot of fun. You can do characters that as they're named originally, and I think the next one that they should do, Marvel, of course, is the Living Mummy, because he's a cool character. Next up, I'm going in a completely different direction than what you're probably anticipating. An untitled Howard the Duck special presentation. That is the title. An untitled Howard the Duck special presentation. Let me explain. Just to give you the mood of the world, it's 2017 to 2018 at Marvel Studios headquarters. I'm gonna get kind of funky with this pitch. Similar to The Office and Team Thor, a mockumentary style special presentation of Howard the Duck trying to get his own Marvel movie. We start off with like the title card, 2017, 2018, you hear like phones and people doing, all that stuff. They're at Marvel headquarters, they're in a conference room with Kevin Feige and a lot of other producers. Maybe the Russo brothers make a cameo. Just random like bigwigs of the Marvel team. And Howard the Duck is there with his best friend, Zach, the writer. Oh my, I didn't even think of me. Wow, me? Yes, I kind of based the character off of me, but I just think it's kind of funny. Anyways, Zach and Howard the Duck are there to pitch Howard the Duck's movie. And I always love a good explanation to why there is a documentary crew there. Marvel is making their Assembled documentary. If you don't know what the Assembled documentaries are, it's a Disney Plus original documentary series where it's kind of like the behind the scenes info, interviews, and all that stuff of the Marvel movies after they've released. Kevin Feige explained this away by saying, oh, they're just here for the Marvel Assembled series for when they get around to actually making this movie. This is going to be good content. So we basically see the entire pitch, which is the first like 5 to 10 minutes of the special presentation. So because this is from 2017 to 2018, Howard the Duck pitches that he should be the first film out of the gate. He keeps shooting for 2020. Haha, 2020 COVID, blah, blah, blah. He pitches this gritty crime drama because in the comics, Howard the Duck is this real detective, but he's also a duck. And that's gonna be what keeps tripping up the board. They're like, but you're a duck. Like, this is weird. Why can't we just make a movie about you being a duck or something like that? And like, no, you don't get the character, all this stuff. Just making those kinds of jokes. Speaking of which, lots of cursing in this. We blur it all, we bleep it all, because I think that's gonna be funnier, especially with like a PG-13 rating. Howard the Duck keeps cursing, especially dropping the F-bomb. He's pitching this movie, but they don't really care for it. Zach is doing the best he can to be like, yeah, this is good, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of, oh yeah, that's another thing. I would love a cameo of James Gunn, either on a phone call or even just in a passing line. Be like, get James on the phone. Or Howard the Duck's like, get James on the phone, get James on the phone. He can vouch for me. He can vouch for me like all his buddies, Dave Bautista. Kevin Feige is being as supportive as he can, but he finally comes down to it. He's like, I don't know. Plus that movie in the 80s, and Howard the Duck throws his arms up, or his wings, his arms. Throughout the movie, Howard the Duck is gonna keep getting hindered by his big picture back in the 80s. We can even do some like fake footage of back in the day when he was like on set and the guy in the puppet suit was like, God, come on, I hate this and all this stuff. We're just gonna keep making fun of that movie, lovingly. I think that's a goofy cult classic. Basically, this whole special presentation is Howard the Duck being a normal human being, hating his life. Him and Zach keep trying to figure out how to pitch this movie to Marvel, how to get it going. And then Howard the Duck is like, you know what, I'm me. I'll make my movie. I'm gonna raise the money for it. So he does different odd jobs and stuff like that. Maybe he cuts Robert Downey Jr.'s lawn. The big, the climactic set piece though, is he's on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he keeps trying to get money for stuff like that. People keep recognizing him for the old movies, like, oh my goodness. And this was like the big moment that I had in the movie, is that there's like Times Square Avengers, there's also that for the Hollywood, with the Chinese theater, I think so. So you have these like Avengers characters out there at the Chinese theater, and you have Howard the Duck beat them up out of spite and anger. And this fight is not good. It's not like well choreographed or anything like that. The ending is him in jail, and him and Zach are in jail. They don't know what to do, but they're like, you know what? Not every character needs a movie. you're a great character, you were good in the James Gunn movies, they're in jail. But they get the call from Kevin Feige bailing them out, saying that he found a small part for him in the upcoming movie Avengers Endgame. Again, it's just a goofy, fun idea that I think would be really cool for Howard the Duck. And then from then on, you could say this launched his career into the other special presentations that he will get. Again, I'm not saying he needs more, but you could do Howard the Duck in what I'm saying is you have a lot of options, and I think Howard the Duck doing a mockumentary style would be kind of fun. Now for the final one. This third one more closely relates to how Guardians of the Galaxy The Holiday Special works, where it's a smaller adventure in a certain hero's library of reported adventures. He's a character that I think we need to see more of. He's a character that's been well established within the universe as being there for one of the longest times, and yet we've seen him the smallest. Ant-Man. Not Scott Lang, Hank Pym Ant-Man to be specific. This is my pitch for what I'm calling the astonishing Ant-Man. In 2016, Civil War takes place. I don't know if that's the exact year within the movie Civil War. Whatever year that movie takes place in, that's the year it is. This is the events after the airport fight sequence when Scott Lang is arrested for his crimes, aiding and abetting international criminal, the Winter Soldier, along with Captain Steve Rogers. Cassie Lang is upset. She's scared for her father. She doesn't know. It's been a while since she's seen him, just because he's been away in jail, in the raft, and so on and so forth. And Cassie's mother needs to go to work or something like that. But so she needs Hank Pym to watch Cassie. So it's a rainy day. It's cold, it's wet. Cassie doesn't want to go outside. She's scared for her dad. She's upset. It's kind of like, it's pretty dramatic in my opinion. I kind of like this idea because then Hank Pym comes into a room, they have a conversation, it's kind of fun. But Hank keeps reiterating this idea that your dad's going to be okay. You know, your dad's going to be okay. And she's like, I hope he is, stuff like that. And then Hank's like, did I ever tell you about the time that I was in prison? Cassie shoots up, huh? What? Similar to The Princess Bride, Hank Pym will tell a story of his old days as Ant-Man to Cassie. This story, I think, will take place in the 70s or 80s. This will be in the heyday of Ant-Man and the Wasp in terms of Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne. Hank Pym is breaking into a secret Hydra base somewhere into the snowy mountains of the Snowy Mountains. Don't really care where. That's not the point. You can cast younger versions of Hank and Janet. I don't know why I keep going to the guy who played young Solo to play Hank Pym, like younger Hank Pym. I just think that would be funny. Or, to make it easier, you can just have stunt people wearing the masks the entire time. Also, in this one, I want both Ant-Man suits, or Ant-Man and Wasp, to have antennas. I love the antennas on the side. It just adds so much fun to the character. But I think these would be really cool. I look stupid on the camera, don't I? Hank Pym infiltrates a Hydra base. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of stuff. I would have liked it to be AIM, because Ant-Man and AIM kind of go together sometimes, but I don't think that's possible because of the history established in Iron Man 3, it being made by Aldrich Killian and then brought that way. But so if it's back in the day, we'll make it Hydra, but it would be kind of cool to see some of those yellow, you know, like cylinder suits, whatever. I think that'd be fun. If not, it's fine, we have Hydra. Mitchell Carson, who was the villain, who was like a C-list villain in the grand scheme of things in the first Ant-Man and the early scene in the first Ant-Man. He sent Janet on a mission into Hydra to find out what secret weapon they've been working on, because it's been revealed to S.H.I.E.L.D. that they have some weapon that can cause some mass destruction, but they don't know what that means. It's a very vague weapon. We don't know who it is. Well, I know who it is. I didn't mean to say who. I'll set that up later. However, Janet hasn't been heard from in over 24 hours, and Hank just needs to make sure that she's all right. So Hank infiltrates the space. He's beating up everybody. Just like that. Marvel, use those sound effects. It's not nerdy at all, I swear. Lots of really fun Ant-Man action. Like, I love the gun pull-up in the first one. Hank and Janet break out of prison, and they both fly out of the prison. They're about to leave the base entirely, but then they finally figure out the weapon that's been teased throughout the movie. Hank sees a particular doctor that he's seen throughout the base, and this doctor happens to be, I forgot his name, Egghead. Apparently Egghead showed up in Ant-Man the Wasp, so if there's a way that you can connect it, that'd be pretty cool. However, if that's not actually Egghead, we can use him here. If it is actually Egghead, he'll just be a bald doctor that's unnamed, that's not Egghead. Give you a little this side too. They find Egghead, they overhear what he's talking about, and it's the weapon. A person, a man, not just a man, an alien, as a matter of fact. A Kree alien from the comics, the living eraser. Basically, from what I've gathered from images and reading a little bit about him online, you touch something and it just disappears. The living eraser is kind of this imprisoned character that would love to destroy the world, but Hydra is like currently doing. So the living eraser is basically Kree, who is against the world and is trying to destroy it all, and he has these very special gloves that cause everything to be disintegrated or something like that. In the comics it looked like he would just swipe and just part of you would be gone. Hank and Janet decide they cannot let Hydra keep this weapon. That is too dangerous. So, big action fight sequence. Fighting the living eraser, not living laser. That's a different character. Fighting the living eraser. They're using their powers simultaneously, which is really cool. The living eraser is just kind of this Terminator, like Kree, that just wants to destroy. So it's very easy when he gets destroyed. I even kind of think you can make him a bit robotic in the interior or something like that, or like exterior, something cool like that. The living eraser is destroyed, Hydra's base is blown up, and Egghead can get away. But Hank and Janet fly away. And again, so there's a lot of loving Janet in this, so Hank kind of has to take a minute sometimes just to remember Janet. Maybe a single tear just kind of falls down at a random part in the story that takes us off guard. Oh my goodness, he does miss Janet. So the story does distract Cassie long enough for the ending of this film, which you can kind of say that Hank had a surprise for Cassie at the beginning, but maybe she wasn't ready for it, or he didn't have it yet, or it was on its way, something like that. But we build up to the ending, they hug, and then there's a knock at the door. Who could it be? She opens it up, and it's her mom with Scott Lang, who was just released on prison with bail? House arrest. And it's this big hug, it's a big wonderful family moment. Thank you, Hank, for watching Cassie, blah, blah, blah. What'd you guys do? I told her a story, blah, 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 have fun. Also, Jimmy Woo needs to be there. I mean, come on, Jimmy Woo. What a character. And that's it. It's just supposed to be a fun mini adventure in the Ant-Man mythology about Hank and Janet's early days as Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's it. I hope these three ideas were cohesive enough to understand them. I hope I'm not. If not, you can leave a comment down below. I don't know, I think it would be really cool to see some of these in the future. I love Halloween specials, which is why I suggest the first one. I'd love to see smaller adventures within Heroes mythology, which is why I suggested the final one. And I like Howard the Duck. I hope you enjoyed my pitches. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say and what your ideas are. Genuinely. Leave a comment down below. Zach, I think the Ant-Man one would be better with this villain. Zach, I think Howard the Duck would be really cool if he did this. Zach, your ideas suck, and here's mine. I'd love to hear it, genuinely. Marvel, thank you for being Marvel. And for the special presentation of Werewolf by Night. That was really cool, thank you. And thank you all for watching. If you would like to subscribe, that would be lovely. But I wouldn't make you do that. You can choose to do that. If you're gonna subscribe, I would check out some stuff on my channel first, just to be like, alright, this guy's cool, alright. Yeah, like and subscribe, and leave a comment about how beautiful I am. Thank you.